So if you're standing there at the end of your high school career, you're holding that certificate, and you are facing, one of the biggest choices of your life.
It's a huge moment.
Do you jump straight into the job market, or do you study? And if you do decide to study, what is the most strategic path to take?
It's a moment just defined by pressure. And that pressure, as it turns out, is completely justified when you look at the numbers. You've shared a fantastic guide with us on this, and the first thing it does is really highlight the urgency of getting some kind of tertiary qualification.
Okay, let's start right there with the why. Why is this deep dive so necessary?
Well, what we immediately saw in the data was just a staggering statistic. 37.7% of people who only have their high school certificate are currently unemployed.
37%, that's almost 4 out of every 10 people.
Exactly. 4 out of 10 people are struggling to find work. Now, you contrast that with those who have a tertiary education, and that means any qualification beyond high school, and the unemployment rate it plummets.
To what?
Down to just 7.5%.
Wow, that difference is massive. That is the gap between struggling for months to find work and really positioning yourself for a successful career.
Absolutely. So our mission today is pretty clear. We're going to use this guide as a kind of shortcut. We're going to break down the qualification hierarchy, your higher certificates, diplomas, and degrees, their requirements, and most importantly, the strategic steps you need to take to choose a future-proof path.
Exactly. Let's unpack this strategic ladder, starting at let's say the first rung, the quick entry point that still gives you that critical advantage.
That would be the higher certificate or the HSC.
Right. So HCs are the first tier. They usually take about 1 year to complete, and they sit at what's called NQF Level 5.
And we should probably clarify that jargon right away. For listeners who haven't come across the National Qualifications Framework, the NQF, before, it's basically a national measuring stick.
It's how the government classifies qualifications.
Exactly. It measures the complexity and the knowledge required for something. So level 5 means it's a step above the basic high school standard, but it's still very, very focused. It's designed for speed.
So the entry point is pretty accessible.
It is. You just need your high school certificate with a minimum higher certificate admission. And the whole function of the HC is crucial. It sort of skips a lot of the broad theoretical work and instead focuses intensely on the hands-on practical skills you need to get a job quickly.
The examples in the guide are great because they really show how defined that career path can be. Like, if you enjoy numbers, a higher certificate in accounting gets you straight into roles like bookkeeper, account specialist, or a payroll administrator.
You're job ready in a year.
12 months. And it's not just for office work either.
No, the higher certificate in entrepreneurship is a fascinating one. Of course, it teaches you how to start your own business, but the skills it gives you, like operational management, strategic planning, those skills translate directly into jobs like a business administrator or a front office manager in an already established company.
So it's about those transferable skills.
Exactly.
And for anyone looking at that huge retail sector, there's the higher certificate in retail management. That's an excellent entry point into large-scale logistics, and it prepares you for roles like store manager or stock replenisher. It's a really stable foundation, and it's delivered fast.
Which is key for anyone who needs to gain employment and start earning quickly. It gives you that tertiary stamp without a multi-year commitment.
Okay, so the higher certificate gets you working fast. That's essential for a lot of people. But if the goal is more about, say, strategic advancement, moving into management or leadership, we need to talk about the longer-term investments.
Right, and that requires looking further up the ladder.
To diplomas and degrees.
Let's start with the diploma. These qualifications typically take about 2 to 3 years, and they bring you up to NQF Level 6.
Hang on a second. If the HC gets you working in 1 year, why would anyone bother with a 2 or 3 year diploma? Especially if you're worried about tuition costs or, time away from earning an income.
That's a great question, actually. And the trade-off is almost always about higher earning potential and greater career depth. Diplomas open up more specialized, often higher-paying careers because they include more in-depth theory alongside those practical skills.
So you need a bit more to get in.
A little more. They require a minimum diploma admission on your high school certificate.
And the career paths here, they start to become a lot more involved. You take a diploma in financial management, for instance, and you're prepared to work in finance in either the public or the business sector. You're on a path toward roles like financial manager or senior accountant.
And for those who are more natural communicators, the diploma in public relations management is a really significant step up. This course is perfect if you enjoy writing and managing relationships, and it leads to specialized jobs like marketing coordinator or a strategic copywriter or a media relations specialist.
Then we hit the top tier, the bachelor's degree. These are the classic 3-year powerhouses sitting at NQF level 7. This signifies like the deepest level of undergraduate academic work.
Right, and these are the qualifications traditionally expected for management in senior level positions. They require that official bachelor's degree endorsement on your high school certificate.
And the guide really highlights the Bachelor of Commerce, the BCom, as a particularly strategic choice.
Absolutely, the versatility of it is key.
For instance, a Bachelor of Commerce in law. This isn't just for people who want to be lawyers. It's a strategic foundation that lets you become a legal manager inside a corporation or an investment analyst because it gives you that critical thinking and regulatory knowledge.
And then there's the BCom in human resource management. This degree is essential if you want to focus on people, on organizational structure, and on resolving complex issues. This is your direct route to those specialized roles like human resource manager or an industrial relations consultant. These degrees signal that you're ready for long-term strategic influence.
Okay, that covers the main paths, but what about the learner who's listening to all this and thinking, my high school results? They didn't quite meet that required endorsement for a degree. We have to address the contingency planning.
Oh, that's vital. I mean, the education journey is almost never a straight line. If your results don't meet the entry requirements, the guide outlines some clear, actionable options. First, you can take bridging courses.
Bridging courses?
Yeah, these are short, focused programs designed specifically to get your knowledge base up to the admission requirements for whatever you're aiming for.
So it's like a strategic detour, not a dead end.
Exactly. The other option, of course, is to just redo your final year exams to improve those results. But, even while you consider those routes, we have to acknowledge a critical fact. Not every successful career requires that tertiary qualification stamp.
And that's such a crucial perspective, especially after that first statistic we shared. There are legitimate, growing roles that don't mandate a degree. The sources mention things like call center associate, storekeeper, cosmetics consultant, even a professional resume writer.
However, and this is a big however, this is where strategic supplementation becomes completely non-negotiable. Even if you go for one of these non-tertiary roles, the material stresses that you must look at enhancing your skills with short courses.
So the job title might stay the same, but your skill set underneath it changes.
Precisely. Take that role of a call center associate. If you're just reading scripts, well, AI is going to replace you very soon. But if you combine that role with a short course in, say, data analysis, you suddenly transform into someone who can identify customer trends and operational problems.
You're not just answering calls anymore.
No, you're providing data-driven solutions. You stand out so much more from the competition. Skill supplementation is the strategic differentiator, no matter what job you're in.
Let's pivot now to maybe the most important question for you, the listener. How do you make sure this choice is relevant and, well, makes you happy long term? We need to look at the tips for choosing the right qualification. The future-proofing blueprint.
The first, and I would argue the most important, tip is all about alignment. You have to take your interest into account. We know salary is crucial, but you have to be certain you'll actually enjoy this career for the long haul.
So you have to ask yourself those personal questions.
Exactly. What are you passionate about? What do you naturally enjoy doing? And what are you already good at? Finding that intersection is where you build a career that lasts.
But as we know, passion alone doesn't guarantee a job, which brings us to the second and probably the most strategic tip. Research the job market meticulously.
Oh, this is so critical. Because the future of work isn't on its way. It's already here.
Yeah.
You have to look rationally at where jobs are disappearing and where they're growing. The guidance is to check projected job growth using public resources. Because automation and AI are actively eliminating traditional roles.
And this is where we get that big aha moment from the research, isn't it? The contrast is just, it's stark.
It's incredible.
You look at logisticians, the people who manage complex supply chains, they're expected to see massive growth, a projected 19% increase between 2023 and 2033.
19%. That is a giant green light for anyone thinking about supply chain management.
It is, but then you look at the opposite trend. Customer service representatives, they're projected to see a 5% decline in demand.
And you have to ask why.
Why? Because AI is rapidly taking over basic query resolution and all those routine customer interactions.
Right. So the critical question for you, the learner, is this. Are you choosing a job that technology is about to automate, or one that technology will enable and enhance?
That really changes the game. Job market research becomes less about finding a paycheck and more about, I don't know, conducting a digital threat analysis on your future career.
That's a great way to put it. The third tip is a practical one. Consider the timeline. We've talked about it a lot, the difference between 1 year for an HC versus 2 or 3 for a diploma or degree. You have to factor in that time commitment.
And tip 4, consider how you would like to study. The guide is really clear that flexibility matters. For many students with other obligations work, family distance learning is a fantastic option.
Oh, absolutely. Distance learning lets you study while you keep working, which helps with the financial pressure. It can also cut down on tuition and living costs. That flexibility is often the difference between finishing your qualification and having to drop out.
So that brings us to the bigger picture. If we connect all of these strategic choices back to the reality of the market, the guide really emphasizes one massive trend.
Digitally focused careers. They are in extremely high demand, and it doesn't matter what sector you choose.
Whether it's healthcare, business, or pure tech.
The digital component is what provides the stability. The demand signal is crystal clear. These are the fields where the jobs of the future are concentrated.
Okay, let's run through them. First up, financial technology or Fintech. This is all about blending traditional banking with new digital and security skills.
Basically, future-proofing the entire world of finance. Second, digital marketing. Every single company needs to be seen online.
So, expertise in social media, SEO, content creation.
Exactly. Third, logistics and supply chain management. We already saw that growth forecast. This is about moving goods and information around the globe efficiently.
A skill that became even more critical recently. Fourth, healthcare technology.
The digitalization of medical records, diagnostics, patient care.
Right.
It all requires very specific IT skills.
Fifth on the list is education and e-learning.
Right. The demand for digital content and learning platforms is just skyrocketing. The people who design and deliver online education are in a booming field.
And finally, a huge one, cybersecurity.
Everything that moves online has to be protected. This is a field with perpetual high demand that applies to every single industry out there.
That list provides an amazing target zone for any learner, no matter where they start, HC, diploma, or degree.
So we've broken down the paths. Certificates for getting skills fast, diplomas for those mid-level specialized careers, and degrees for senior management and deep expertise.
We've covered the framework, the options, the backup plans for if your results aren't what you hope, and the strategic tips for picking a growth area.
And this raises, I think, a really important question that sort of defines the success of this whole thing. The ultimate decision has to rest on whether the career choice is something you genuinely enjoy and can see yourself doing long-term.
Right. Don't just chase trends you hate.
Merge your interests with the trends that actually matter.
So the ultimate lesson here isn't just about picking one single qualification, is it? It's about building a personal stack of skills that makes you indispensable. We've seen that pretty much every field now needs a digital component.
And that leads us to the final provocative thought we want to leave you with. The real strategic power, it lies in combining your credentials. So the question for you to explore is this: how will the combination of a traditional in-demand qualification, like that diploma in financial management, and a specialized short course skill, like cybersecurity or data analysis, create a uniquely powerful and indispensable career path for you in the next decade?
Find that intersection and you find your future.